What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Willpower Cup once again, and the team we're going to be taking a look at today is Metang, Greninja, and ZWEILOUS. Now the main focus of today's video is ZWEILOUS because ZWEILOUS got access to the reworked Dragon Breath, which is really nice for this Pokemon because previously it felt like its charge moves were just a little bit too expensive to make it worth it, whereas now it has really good pacing and it has decent coverage already. So having that Dragon Breath, Body Slam, and either Dark Pulse or Dragon Pulse coverage is really nice for this Pokemon. You're going to see on the right here we have the Sims of ZWEILOUS with either Dragon Pulse or Dark Pulse, and the Shadow versus the non-Shadow, and it looks like the overall favorite is the Shadow with Dark Pulse. So keep that in mind while I'm doing these battles. I am using the non-Shadow with Dark Pulse, so not performing quite as well, but still a worthy Pokemon to look out. So without further ado, let's take a look at the battles. Okay, into the first match, we've got Metang into Sableye. Now this is a pretty tough lead, so I'm going to safe switch into the Greninja here, and I am answered with the Pawniard. And now this is why Greninja is actually the safe swap on this team, and that is because water type coverage in Hydro Cannon is actually neutral into a majority of the meta. So I end up baiting with a Night Slash there. I end up getting the 2x boost, which is huge because now I can full send the Hydro Cannon, and this will easily knock out the Pawniard unless they commit a second shield. And the opponent does let that go. They allow us to flip switch. Back in comes the Sableye, but now Sableye is going to be hit by a double boosted Night Slash, and this will do some very significant chip unless my opponent commits the shield. So we win switch and shield advantage in the mid game, which is absolutely massive. Now in comes ZWEILOUS. Now if they have Dazzling Gleam, this could be over, but fortunately my opponent is on Power Gem. We do live that pretty comfortably. They do make it to another charge move here. I was unsure if this was a foul play or another Power Gem, so I do end up committing the shield. It's just going to be the foul play. Now I'm going to look to pick up the knockout with the Dark Pulse, as this is neutral damage. It will easily be able to pick up the knockout on the Sableye from this range, and in the back is a Fire Fang Incineroar. So this is going to be a little bit tricky because we only have a Metang left, which is completely walled, and my ZWEILOUS is going to be taken out here by a Brutal Swing. Of course, it only takes, I think, 5 Fire Fangs to get to it Brutal Swing, so that new pacing for Incineroar is really nice. They do throw right before I get to my Gyro Ball there, but I hang on 1 HP. I make it to the Gyro Ball, and Gyro Ball, even though it's resisted damage, does knock out the Glassy Incineroar, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Metang into Mandibuzz. So this is actually not as bad of a lead as you might expect because Air Slash is resisted, and even though they have dark coverage here, we have neutral coverage with Gyro Ball. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for the Gyro Ball, put them into a range where I can potentially get to another charge move, but instead I'm going to catch the Dark Pulse or the foul play where it is resisted onto my Greninja, getting an absolute soul read catch there. And in the back is a Drapion, and if Drapion with Ice Fang Aqua Tail is your best response to a Greninja up energy, there is something clearly wrong with your team in the back. I'm assuming it can only be a Claydol, so I need to save my shields for my ZWEILOUS in the back. The opponent ends up only farming up to an Aqua Tail, so I let it go. We live that on 1 HP. We get to Night Slash. That picks up the knockout. Back in comes the Mandibuzz, and if it is that Claydol in the back, I'm going to align my Metang against the Mandibuzz, even if they have a little bit of energy lead. So back in comes the Metang. Metang will be able to make it to a Gyro Ball before they're able to make it to a second charge move, and Gyro Ball will put them into the red health range. I can tank 1 charge move here, but I am going to shield this on the off chance it's not the Claydol, and this is going to be useful in the back, but there it is the Claydol. So now I'm going to go for the Gyro Ball, hoping I grab a shield for my opponent because they want to lower my attack first, and I do, which is absolutely massive because now all we have to do is make it to back-to-back Dark Pulses. The opponent does farm up to an Ice Beam here, so I will respect it, and they actually full send the Ice Beam, playing to their win con that I would no shield that, knowing that I would probably have to live 2. I make it to the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is super effective damage, so they will commit the shield. Can I make it to another Dark Pulse before they get to another Ice Beam? I cannot, which means this will be enough to pick up the knockout. But no, it's only a Rock Tomb. They try and go for the catch on the Mandibuzz. They're unsuccessful. We get the Dragon Breath farm down. We come out with a Dark Pulse loaded, and Dark Pulse is super effective damage. It doesn't quite knock out the Claydol, but one more Fury Cutter does, and we are able to take that win. Okay, into the next match, we've got Pawniard on the lead. So this is kind of a core breaker for this team. As you can tell, we are very weak to this Pokemon, so we're kind of forced to stay in here. Fortunately, Fury Cutter is neutral both ways, but Metang just has a much better stat product. They end up going for a catch on the Mandibuzz, so I am going to chip it with a Gyro Ball first because I don't have a great response. And then what I'm going to do here is look to go for a catch once they get to either a Dark Pulse or a Foul Play. But I will first chip with 2 Gyro Balls because once again, I don't have a great response to Mandibuzz in the back. So not having a great response to their lead or their save switch is not a good recipe here. Obviously, this matchup is going to be very tricky to get out of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back Hydro Cannons, knowing that if the opponent wants switch here, they're going to have to double shield, and they do not. Back in comes the Pawniard. Pawniard now will have to give me a shield unless they want to go down to a Hydro, and they do end up committing the shield. Can I get to another charge move? The answer is no. That is very unfortunate. Back in comes the Metang, and I really can't let my ZWEILOUS see this Dragon Breath. Everything is resisted on the ZWEILOUS, and these Fury Cutters would add up way too much. So instead, I'm going to force them to throw their energy pretty much as soon as they get there. They will be able to pick up the knockout now with the Night Slash, and now in comes the ZWEILOUS, but in the back is a Murkrow. Murkrow will be hit with the Body Slam. Body Slam is neutral damage, but I will grab a shield from the opponent just because they are a very glassy Pokemon. Now the question is, can I get to enough charge moves to win this game? I have to get to a Body Slam in order to pick up the knockout on the Murkrow without taking too much damage, and I have to make it to another Body Slam against the Pawniard. Can I outpace is the question. It's going to be close. We get to the Body Slam before the Pawniard makes it to another charge move, and Body Slam from this range will pick up the knockout on the Pawniard, and somehow we just beat a Pawniard Mandibuzz team with this team. Into the next match, we've got Shadow Drapion on the lead. So this is more about what fast move are they using, and this opponent is running Poison Sting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to farm up, overfarm a little bit there, go for like 10 Fury Cutters, go for the catch. I get the Crunch Catch onto my Greninja where it is resisted. The opponent ends up pivoting into a Rapidash, going for the Body Slam right away to pick up the knockout. But now back in comes the Claydol. Claydol, I can overfarm here, look to take a Mega Horn, build up to 100 energy, and then pick up the knockout with a Gyro Ball. So Mega Horn does connect. I'm at 100 energy now. I'm going to go for the Gyro Ball to pick up the knockout. And if the opponent comes back in with their lead, they will be hit with a charge move, but no, it's a Sableye in the back. Sableye will have to take a neutral Gyro Ball before I pivot into my ZWEILOUS, but now in comes the ZWEILOUS. ZWEILOUS, of course, will have to probably respect a charge move here. No, I'm going to call a bait that this is the foul play. With 2 shields left in play, the opponent does end up baiting. That is absolutely huge. Back in comes the Drapion. Drapion has only resisted charge moves, but at this point, the fast moves are adding up. My ZWEILOUS is getting really low, so I know this is only an Aqua Tail, but I'm kind of forced to commit the shield here because the Aqua Tail plus this Poison Stings would actually be enough to pick up the knockout here. So once again, gonna overfarm, look to pick up the knockout with the Body Slam. Is Body Slam enough to pick up the knockout from this range? No, it is not. So I'm going to pivot into my Metang, force them to throw their energy. I end up getting the catch instead. They Aqua Tail right away, but back in comes the ZWEILOUS. ZWEILOUS looking for the Body Slam now to pick up the knockout on the Shadow Drapion. And now the question is, can we make it to a charge move before the opponent gets to a charge move of their own on the Sableye? And we do outpace, making it to the Body Slam. Body Slam is double resisted, but nobody told ZWEILOUS that. That picks up the knockout on the Sableye, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Metang into Annihilate. Now this is another tough lead, another Pokemon that we're actually technically triple weak to. Both Fury Cutters are double resisted here, so all they have to do really is shield and then fully farm me down. But the opponent lets the Psy Shot go, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go for a Fury Cutter farm down, come out with a little bit of energy, but in the back is Sableye, and I respond with my Greninja. I will farm up to the Hydro Cannon here, baiting with the Night Slash, hoping to grab that shield right back from my opponent, and I do end up grabbing that shield. That is absolutely massive. Now the opponent will look to probably pick up the knockout here with a Power Gem, so I will respect it. It is the Power Gem. They full send it there, which is nice, because now I can go for the Hydro Cannon to either grab that final shield from my opponent or pick up the knockout. The opponent does end up committing the shield. I make it to the Night Slash, but not before the opponent makes it to another charge move of their own. Is this enough for the Power Gem? It is. Power Gem picks up the knockout. Now I've given up switch and all shields are down, so I'm going to come back in, or not come back in, but I'm going to come in with my ZWEILOUS, look to pick up the knockout here unless my opponent throws their energy. The opponent does end up throwing. It is the power gem. We can survive that, but not very comfortably. We get the Dragon Breath farm down of the Annihilate, and now it's all about what's in the back, but it is a Pawniard, and unfortunately for this team, we just don't stand a chance with a ZWEILOUS at 1 HP. Even though I'm at the back-to-back body slams, it does not matter because it will not be enough to put it into Gyro Ball range. They will get the Fury Cutter farm down, and they will just outpace me to the charge move. Night Slash is super effective. X Scissor is neutral. It doesn't really matter what they're running. They are running Night Slash. Can we get to the Gyro Ball? We can get to the Gyro Ball. This will do some very solid neutral damage to the Pawniard. Is it enough to pick up the knockout? It actually is. And now it's Fury Cutter versus Shadow Claw, but unfortunately Shadow Claw does win it. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. Into the next match, decent lead. We've got Fury Cutter Metang into Greninja. The opponent is also staying in this matchup, knowing that our charge moves are completely walled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot into my own Greninja. We get the catch and sneak of the Water Shuriken through, and now I will farm up, throw the Hydro Cannon on the CMP side with their next Hydro Cannon, knowing that I probably would win CMP with that 4 attack stat on my Greninja. And the opponent does commit the shield, so I will commit the shield right back. Even if they bait with a Night Slash there, they cannot catch up because I snuck a Water Shuriken through. The opponent ends up doing the exact same thing, staying in, throwing their Hydro Cannon on the CMP side. They let it go, but this time they live on 1 HP. That is very unfortunate. So I will commit the shield, hoping that Greninja is strong in the back, considering they just did not want to switch out of the matchup. And in the back is a Drapion. Now Drapion will be hit with the Hydro Cannon here. This is massive neutral damage unless they commit the shield. They do end up committing the shield, but they overfarm by a little bit too much, allowing me to make it to another Hydro Cannon. And now that all shields are down, Hydro Cannon connects. That does massive damage. They will be able to pick up the knockout here. It actually was a CMP tie. That is absolutely massive. Aqua Tail does pick up the knockout. But we know ZWEILOUS is a complete wall to energy, so we come in with the ZWEILOUS here. There is a Claydol in the back, but Claydol is going to get outpaced. This Dark Pulse is super effective damage. It won't knock out, but it will put them very low, and now in comes the Metang just to force their energy. We know Fury Cutters are super effective, and if they went for the Blind Rock Tomb, guess what? That's resisted damage. We would get the Fury Cutter farm down. My opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Claydol on the lead, so gonna play this out the exact same way. Gonna pivot into my Greninja, and this time the Claydol is staying in. I'm staying in here, not throwing immediately, watching for the catch, but the opponent doesn't go for it. So instead, I'm gonna go for the Hydro Cannon, looking for massive damage against the Claydol, but the opponent does commit the shield. I will just commit the shield right back because I don't know what is in the back, and in the back is a Mandibuzz. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna overfarm pretty significantly and now look to connect with the back-to-back Hydro Cannons before the opponent can even make it to their first charge move. Hydro Cannon number 1 does go no shielded. Hydro Cannon number 2 also goes no shielded, but it puts the opponent into the yellow health range. We make it to yet another Hydro Cannon. They could live this if they wanted to. Now it's about whether my opponent values health on their Mandibuzz, and they actually do. So back in comes the the Metang. I end up throwing 3 Fury Cutters, catching onto my ZWEILOUS. It is the Dark Pulse catch. That is absolutely massive, but in the back is a Rapidash, and unfortunately, my opponent goes for the Gyro Ball right away. It's going to be tough. We need Metang to basically sweep this entire team. I get a little bit of lag there. I lose a couple Dragon Breaths, but fortunately, we're still able to get the Body Slam off, which is really nice because that does put it into range where even a Psyshock might be enough to pick up the knockout here. They do farm up to a potential Mega Horn here, so I will respect it. It is the Mega Horn. Now I'm going to look to pick up the knockout with the Psyshock, or maybe just even commit to a full farm down. Not expecting my opponent to make it to another Mega Horn. The opponent only makes it to a Body Slam. That is resisted damage, looking for the farm down, but no farm down is allowed. My opponent pivots back into the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz to be hit with the Gyro Ball, but Gyro Ball picks up the knockout on the Mandibuzz after one more Fury Cutter. Are they going to come back with the Claydol? Yes, they are, but now Claydol will be hit with Gyro Ball number 1, and I believe the Claydol was Energy Dry. So this is a matchup where we should be able to outpace, make it to Gyro Ball number 2. Gyro Ball number 2 from this range should be enough to pick up the knockout on the Claydol, and it does. That is absolutely massive. Back in comes the Rapidash. They get Fury Cutter farm down, and somehow, someway, Metang 1v3 sweeps in that end game. Decent lead in the next match. We got Metang into Murkrow. Obviously, Fury Cutter is neutral, super effective on dark, but resistant on flying, whereas their Pecs are resisted, and they have charge moves that are super effective in foul play. So I will end up going for the catch there. My catch is unsuccessful, but we do lure out a Annihilate. They do get this shield call correct on the Dark Pulse, which is a little bit unfortunate because Annihilate up energy is very difficult for this team. I am going to have to come in with my Metang. Fortunately, I did bank a little bit of energy, so a Psyshock will do some pretty massive damage here, and it will be able to pick up the knockout against the Annihilate. I don't want to really take any more boosted counters, so I am going to go for the Psyshock here. That does pick up the knockout. We still have an energy lead here, so in the back is a Claydol. And we also have a shield advantage, so this could be a potential sweep from the Greninja. We end up grabbing a shield from the opponent. I do have to commit a shield here. Greninja is basically my win con in this matchup. It is, of course, the Rock Tomb. Back in comes the Murkrow. Murkrow is, I believe, 1 away from the back-to-back, so I will commit the shield on the first, and then I'm going to under-tap the move in order to outpace, go for the Hydro Cannon to pick up the knockout on the Murkrow, and now I will be able to outpace the Claydol because they were Energy Drive. Hydro Cannon from this range, it's super effective. I am 1x debuff, but guess what? It's still able to pick up the knockout on the Claydol, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Metang into Gallade, and I believe this is the final match of the video. And this is a pretty decent lead. Psycho Cut is resisted, or Charm is resisted no matter what my opponent is on. They end up coming in with a Poison Jab Quillfish of all things, so I will stay in with my Metang, take these double resisted charge moves, and now come in with my Greninja. If the Quillfish is on the Aqua Tail Ice Beam moveset, they are completely walled in this matchup, and they go for the Aqua Tail, which confirms my beliefs, and that is fantastic for me. Aqua Tail, even 2 of them are not enough to pick up the knockout. I'm able to get the full Water Shuriken farm down, and now I come out loaded with energy. The back-to-back moves, I'm probably only going to get 1 off here, but a neutral Hydro Cannon into anything in this meta will do some very solid chip. It's a Rapidash in the back that does huge damage to the Rapidash. Rapidash into the yellow health range, and then into the red with the following Fury Cutters from my Metang. Metang ends up luring back out the Gallade. It is the Psycho Cut Gallade. So now I'm going to come in with my ZWEILOUS here, force them to full send the close combat in order to pick up the knockout, and then that will secure my endgame. Metang is my win con because both of their fast moves are resisted. They end up going for the Leaf Blade bait, and that is unfortunate for my opponent because I was never going to be shielding my ZWEILOUS there. And now, will they full send the close combat, or are they going to bait again? It is finally the full send of the close combat. I now can come back in with my Metang. Metang will end up committing the first shield on the close combat, and now I can look for the full Fury Cutter farm down, but instead the opponent has other ideas. They come back with the Rapidash, but Rapidash will get outpaced here. Psyshock picks up the knockout on the Rapidash. Now it's about Fury Cutter versus the Gallade, and we get to another charge move before they're able to get to another close combat. They would need the back-to-back anyways, and I don't even think one would pick up the knockout from this range, so we are able to take that win. But yeah, Metang was honestly really solid for me in this meta. I definitely think it has a little bit of trouble in this meta just because Dark Flyers and Claydol exist, but having those neutral Fury Cutters into virtually everything is really nice. And then of course the Steel typing, otherwise in most senses, is a really good typing. Of course, being half Psychic makes you struggle against the Darks, and half Steel being that you struggle against the grounds like Claydol. But all that said, it's still a very strong Pokemon. It's very bulky, and it's got really good pacing, so decent charge moves as well, especially with the Gyro Ball buff. And then obviously ZWEILOUS getting the reworked Dragon Breath looked really solid in these matchups. And Greninja honestly put on a show. It makes a really great core with Metang in this meta, and I think it definitely held its own. That being said, I want to say a special thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel, Benny Hemlock, Dr. Green Mustache, Sohan Patil, and Eliana, as well as the legend trainer members on this channel, Big Burden, Andrew Pitten, Musaju, Noodleman, Speedster, Esteros, Liminal Lagomorph, Tom Spencer, Fast Idiot Boss, Jamie Finn, CD Slaskus, and Castle. So thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!